All right, everyone. What I'm going to do right now is more on the personal side. And over the years, I saved cards and emails and things like that from me and Glenn from our early years. And I kind of wanted to share some of that, just kind of share a little bit of that with you. Not read everything, but just kind of show you some of our early years. All right. So right here, I have a stack of cards that I saved, whether it was me giving him a card or him giving me a card. So this is a card I gave him on his birthday, and I don't think I wrote the year. No, I didn't write the year, but I just saved a lot of this stuff. And what I need to do is kind of have a little special box where I can keep all this, and it's not going to get destroyed. So yeah, this is a card, Valentine's card. He said he gave to me for Valentine's Day, and when I would give him a card, I would say to my sweetie or whatever. But this was a Valentine's Day card that I gave to him. This was, yeah, I didn't write the years. So, oh, yes, I did on the envelope. 2008, I gave this to him. And then when he gave me a card, he would write babe. So this was on my birthday. And I don't know what year this was. But yeah, I just kept stuff like this to my wife. So it's something he would have given me. Yeah, on my birthday. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to share some of the early years with you, cards, and you wouldn't believe all the emails and things I saved over in the early years. But I wanted to also show you a picture of my mom and dad. So these are very early pictures, and they have passed since. If you didn't know, I shared that with you guys a couple times, but my mom and dad passed in 2018, and my mom passed first in early June. She died of pancreatic cancer twice. She had it, and then they did surgery and took half of her pancreas. And then she was free from it, and then it came back, I don't know how long after that. It was a few years, I thought. And then it came back, and it took her within 2 or 3 days of it coming back. She was 81. They were both 81. My mom and dad were a week apart in age, so they were both born in 1935. And yeah, they were a week apart in age, and they died a month and a half apart from each other. So my mom passed first, like I said, pancreatic cancer. And I'm not going to be able to talk about this too much. My dad, I always said I'm my father's daughter. So many things alike with my dad. My dad took care of my mom. She always had health issues from when we were small, and he always took care of her. He was such a good man and a gentle soul. He didn't have a mean bone in his body. He did everything for his family. But my dad took care of my mom, and kind of like I take care of Glenn. He was very quiet. I'm quiet. Just so many similarities between me and my dad. So I always said I'm my father's daughter. But yeah, he was a musician. He was by trade for work. He worked construction, and construction was in and out of season. But he loved music, Mexican music. He played the guitar and the accordion, and he played in bands. And every weekend he would actually have a gig to play at. And he'd get home like at, I remember the days he got home like at 2 in the morning, and we knew if he was carrying a white paper bag, that means he brought donuts home. There was this place that had really good donuts that was open really late, and he would stop and get us donuts before he came home. He was so giving. But yeah, we would get up and we see the white bag and we're all donuts. So yeah, he always played gigs on the weekend. Him and his band. Now most of the band members, they were all friends. They were like 2 of them were my godfathers, and yeah, they were like lifelong friends. So yeah, my mom and dad were 81 when they passed, a month and a half apart. My dad died in July. It was about mid-July, I think. And I'll always say this, that my dad died of a broken heart. He was always healthy. There was never anything wrong with my dad. So in the end, in 2014, I had to go to California because my dad almost passed. He passed out one day, and his brain was bleeding, and he never really came to. In the end, he was in a home, but yeah, I'll always say he died of a broken heart, because it was a shock to everyone when he died. We couldn't believe when we found out he passed. I just think he couldn't and wouldn't live without my mom. So yeah, this is my mom and dad. Her name was Angelita. Everybody called her Angie. I called her Mom. And my dad was, in Spanish, it's Roque, R-O-Q-U-E. But everybody called him, well, his Mexican friends called him by his name, Roque. But anybody who couldn't pronounce it, they actually just called him Rocky. And my brother is actually, my brother is 2 years older than me, and he's a junior. He was named after my dad, and everybody calls him Rocky. So my dad set such a good example for my brother, well, for all of us. But my brother always pays homage to my dad, passing down good work ethic, being a good man to his family, to his wife, and my brother's that way too. So yeah, this picture here was in, they sent it to me. My mom always writes a little letter on the back, and this was 1991. Now, I was not living there. I got out of the Navy in 1990, but I was still living in Southern California in 91. No, actually, I was living in Michigan, I think. Yeah. So my mom would always send me pictures and write little letters on the back. And she always started it to our dearest daughter, Karina. So that's Mom and Dad. This is Mom and Dad and the last place they lived in Modesto, California. This is 2003, I think. Yeah, April 1st, 2003. This was at my sister Letty's birthday. So just wanted to show you my mom and dad. I have other pictures of them. I even have some pictures of my grandparents on my dad's side. I don't have anything on my mom's side. My mom's, I think I've talked about this, but it might have been like a year or two ago. My mom was given up for adoption. She was never legally adopted. A family took her in, but she was just never legally adopted. And her mom, my mom is actually the splitting image of her mom. She used to have a picture of her mom, my grandma, right next to the bed, and so it used to actually freak us out because it looked exactly like my mom. And but my grandma, my mom's mom, was murdered. From what we were told, she did the bar scene quite a bit, and it was just the wrong night, the wrong guy, I guess. But she was murdered. My mom never knew who her dad was, and she found out one time as a teenager. She said she told us these stories, and she said when she went to go see my dad in the San Francisco Bay Area, she said he must have been a person of a position that it was better not to claim my mom as his daughter. He was married, and she was told basically never to come back. So I always felt bad for my mom that her family never wanted her. But she was taken in by a family, and we called them our aunts and uncles, and so yeah, that's my mom and dad. I'll tell you more stories, as time goes on and I come across pictures and things like that. So just wanted to share my mom and dad with you. Now this here, when Glenn and I met, we met online. For those of you that don't know, we met in a Yahoo chat room in 2003. And at the time we met, this is a picture of the husky he had at the time. Her name was Shadow, and this was his profile picture. And I actually had huskies of my own there. I had 4 huskies, and when I saw the profile picture of a husky, I initiated a conversation with Glenn online. And then the rest is history. But this is Shadow. When I got here, she had diabetes and she was blind. And she passed 6 months after I got here in the summer of June of 2003. And she was 13 years old. But yeah. In that 6 months, yeah, there was some good times with her. The first night, I remember the first night I walked into Glenn's house, which now became our house. It was a side-by-side. Someday we'll drive by there and we'll show you where we lived. I walked in and she instantly came over, sniffed me. Keep in mind she's blind. And she sniffed me and gave me kisses, and Glenn says she never did that. So, but yeah, yeah, we called her Pork Chop. She was blind, and when we would eat supper, we would bring food to our TV tables in the living room, and God forbid you have a piece of bread up there, because she would snag it so quick, and you didn't want to try to take it away from her because she would bite your hand, because she couldn't see. So that instinct in her was to bite. But yeah, she was a good dog. He actually had two huskies, Shadow here and Yukon, which was a black and white husky. He was bi-eyed, meaning one brown, one blue eye. He was the most gentle thing. He was such a good dog, and we often compare Gypsy to Yukon because Gypsy is a gentle soul, and so was Yukon. And Yukon also liked his FPs. I would get home from work and he'd be taking me to the freezer already. So that is Shadow. I think we have a different picture of her, or a picture scanned of her on our jump drives. Yeah, this one unfortunately has tape on it, but just wanted to share some history with you guys. This here is a book that I put some of our stuff in, and I'll tell you about some stuff here. I won't read things, but I'll tell you about it. These are just copies of some stuff here. So I kept letters from my mom and dad. My mom would write, and this is when we lived in the old place. But I kept some of their letters, so I'll always keep them. There's another letter from them. I think that might have came out of this envelope. No, there's another letter. And my dad had such nice writing, and I don't know if you could see that, but his writing was so nice. But I don't think I've ever shared that, but my dad, he was so smart. My dad was born in Mexico, and his family came to Texas, or went to Texas, and he dropped out of school in elementary school, but he was so smart. He was self-taught many of the things he knows. He taught himself shorthand writing, and I don't know if a lot of you younger folks know what shorthand writing is, but my dad taught himself how to shorthand write. He taught himself how to play the guitar and so many things, and he was so knowledgeable. So yeah. These are just letters from my mom and dad, and so I kept those. This here is so I'm going to tell you, when I first got here, I started writing poetry, and I wrote some poems, but I haven't written poems in many years, probably since that first year or two that I got here. And it was something about coming here that really brought out my creative side, I think. And I think it comes down to the atmosphere you're in, and it allows you to be creative. And I don't know why I haven't written any poetry. My sister wrote poetry as well. My younger sister wrote poetry. She also did photography. So we had those things in common, but we had totally different personalities. I was the more quiet and introvert, and she was the more louder. She was more loud and always liked to go out and to parties and the bars and things like that. So we were very different in that way, but poetry, creative side, we had in common. So yeah, this was a poem I wrote for my mom and dad. I think I have it in here somewhere. I'll show you. Maybe I'll read that one to you, but I'll put that one to the side. Maybe I'll read it. The ones I wrote for Glenn, they're quite long, and so some things are just personal, but just telling you I wrote poetry. This is a card my mom and dad sent to me, and my mom always wrote stuff in there. That was for my birthday. And this also was a card from my mom and dad on my birthday. So yeah, I miss them so much. But this book here, I put most of my poems in that I wrote, and I wrote them for Glenn. So in here, let me see. This was an email. This right here. I sent this. No, Glenn sent this to me when I was working in insurance, and we would send each other emails, and he sent this to me. You're the love of my life, but I won't read it. This was in 2003, February 2003. So these are poems I wrote, and I printed them out on like cardstock, and so this one here. Oh, sorry. This is called Love Is, and this is February 17, 2003, and I start every line with Love Is, and I never really experienced like true love that allows you to be yourself, and everything is just, it just comes natural between the two of you. And that's what our relationship is. I didn't have to pretend to be anything. Glenn didn't pretend to be anything. Nothing was tense. It was just so natural. The first night I got here, he picked me up at the Greyhound bus station, and I walked in his place, and everything was just natural right away. I felt at home, and he made me feel at home, and he made it a point to tell me right away that this is your home, so feel at home and do what you want. So I've only had like 2 long-term relationships in my life. My first one, my ex, we spent 14 years together with a year break in between. But it was never the natural feeling that I felt with Glenn, and I feel with Glenn. So yeah, it wasn't the same kind of feeling, but that's a story for another day, I guess. But yeah, this one is called Love Is. I wrote all of these from thoughts. I didn't copy anything from any book or anything. And this one is called On Our First Night. I typed this out, or wrote this, February 19, 2003. This one right here is actually the words to a song from that era in 2003. It's called I Do, from Paul Brandt. It was a country song, and it's such a beautiful song, and I printed it out on this paper. And then this one here, it's called You Are the One. I wrote this. This was the very first poem, I believe, I wrote for Glenn, or us. I guess from me to him. So that was the first poem I wrote. And then this one here is called Missing You. After I got here, I wasn't working right away. Glenn had to go out of town for work for one night, and I was I was alone in the place, and it's not that I was afraid to be alone, but I just wrote this called Missing You, and yeah. So this was in April. So yeah, I wrote that. And then this is just one of the poems printed with a background, a picture of a background. This here is, I did not write this, but I took it from a thing, the Apache Wedding Blessing, with 2 Native American couple in the background. And then I actually wrote a poem for Shadow. Here's her. I printed this out, put her picture there. The picture's printed out there, and I wrote a poem for Shadow. So yeah, just a little bit about this is, I printed these on Wolf Pictures, but this here, you can't even see it. I'm pretty sure I have all these poems on my jump drive, my thumb drive. And this one was called Desire. And I wrote this. And there's another one I wrote, 7 Feathers. Now, when I started photography or did this or this or this, my name I gave myself was Seven Feathers. So, so I wrote something for myself, actually. Yeah. So I wrote that. And then I wrote this one for Glenn on his 50th birthday. Your first 50 years. This was in August 10th, 2006. That's Glenn's birthday, August 10th. So yeah, just a bit of the poems. Let's see what's in here. I wrote that one. Oh, this here. Glenn's name at the time in 2003 when we met on Yahoo. I think it was Yahoo. Yeah. Was Wild Wolf 56. So this is a printout of our Yahoo chats. Some of our Yahoo chats. Yeah, all this is printed out from Yahoo. So I'm glad we printed those out because we have those to look back on. But this here, years ago when I was trying to look up my family history, I started with my grandparents on my dad's side, and I actually typed in where I knew they were living, or at the time, like where they lived in Texas, in Frio County. They lived in Pearsall, Texas. And I was able to find my grandma's name on my dad's side is Ambrosia. And actually my sister named her daughter after my grandma and named her daughter Ambrosia. But my grandma died in 1996. And it gives her Social Security number, date of birth, things like that. And then I got one from my grandpa. When we were growing up, being Mexican, we called them Abuelito and Abuelita. Grandma and grandpa in Spanish is abuela and abuelo, and we just call them Abuelito and Abuelita. My grandpa on my dad's side was named Jesus. And he died in 1983. I was a junior in high school at the time. And I got the same information from him. He was born in 1900. My grandma was born in 1901. So yeah, I got that. So yeah, just just a little bit of stuff about us. And I have this bag here that I put other stuff in there. Combination of a few things. So like as far as journaling, like when I was working and I had to go to like a big meeting or anything, I would just take like any piece of paper that we would have there, and I would just write down my thoughts and stuff. And this was from August 31st, 2006 at Jacobs Hall. And I just put my success at work, and I just must have wrote about it. I scribbled, so you know it's not perfect or anything. But those are the kind of things you want to look back on. And for those of you that think you might want to journal, you know, if you're somewhere, you just have a piece of paper and you have a thought in your mind, that's inspiring or otherwise, you know, take that piece of paper and just write it down and save it. Don't rewrite it to a different page like in your journal. Just tuck it in there and date it and stuff. And you know, I used to do that all the time. So that's that. This here was my Greyhound tag for my sea bag. In the military, I had that sea bag, and when I came here, I packed it full of my stuff. And this was my Greyhound tag to put on my sea bag. So all these little things that we save. Again, just something else I wrote. I just took a piece of paper out of a tablet February 22nd, 2004, 11:53 p.m. You know, just I wrote that kind of stuff. Just keep them tucked away. This is Western Union. Any of you remember Western Union? Now you do it through PayPal and Cash App and Venmo and things like that. But in the old days, there was Western Union where you transferred money. And this was Glenn sending me money for my Greyhound bus ticket to come to Wisconsin. Yeah, at the big Kmart. He got it at big Kmart. And yeah, so this is the Western Union he did. So yeah, that's that. This was a receipt to something. You can't even read it anymore. Oh, okay. Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. This was the year we went in the actual Department of Natural Resource office to get our fishing license. So Glenn was actually still walking at this time. Can't even hardly read that. These were just 2 games of rummy. October 21st of 2003. This was something Glenn did for me. Happy birthday. And wrote I love you on the back. Another rummy card, a rummy game, a couple of rummies. Oh, I had this whole thing of rummy. So these were the early years of rummy. This was the Greyhound again. Another thing to put on your luggage. Yeah, this was all from Turlock to Sheboygan. No, this was my Greyhound ticket. Still have that. This was 2003. Our fishing license from the first year we were together. So yeah, save those. I don't know what this is. Bag. Oh, this was 2010. I must have gave him something. He calls me Putz at times, and on the bag I put happy birthday, sweetie. I love you with all my heart. Love, Putz. So funny. Oh, here's some pictures. Another Greyhound bag ticket. This was a card I sent to Glenn when I was still in California. Yep. And this was another Western Union. There's some letters. Just some more things that I wrote on the spur of the moment. These things right here, all of these. Well, I did that a lot. 2004. Things are 20 years old. Just something Glenn wrote on the spur of the moment. And then I wrote back to him. More rummy games. There's some pictures of me. I had these pictures. These were done like right before I got here, or right before I left California. These were taken at a studio. I don't like them, but so yeah, these were pictures of me. This is a picture of me as well. This was in Turlock, across the street from the apartments. I think that's the same one. And that's me. and the card I gave to Glenn. So in here, I won't go over all these, but just to give you an idea, these are some things that we printed out, like for each other. Like Glenn sent this to me in the email and printed this out. This was 2002. So this was even before even that I got here, December of 2002. So we were still, he was here and I was in California. And just, we used to send each other e-cards, Yahoo greetings and things like that. And Spirit Sense and just things that we printed out, sent to each other, printed them out. So we'd always have them. And I'm glad we did. Yeah, these were like e-cards that we sent each other. These are all emails that we sent each other. And this was even after 2 years after I got here. So yeah, these are all emails that we sent each other. And these aren't even all of them. These are just the ones I printed out. So yeah, I just wanted to just some more stuff, more emails and stuff that I printed out. And oh yeah, I used to also do calligraphy. I wasn't very good at it, but I used to do calligraphy. This was the poem I wrote for my mom and dad, and I did it in calligraphy. So I'll just read that to you, since it's for my mom and dad. And oh, I did this one called Perspective, and these are all just little things I wrote, the notes, and wrote my poems on the notes. So I'll quick read that, and then that'll be it. But all this is just another stack of emails I printed out from us. Alright, so the poem I wrote for my mom and dad, I named it Thank You. It goes, as a little girl, I remember the lesson of respect, those duties as parents you did not neglect. I often reflect on the kindness in your heart from the rest of the world that set you apart. When we sat at the table and talked, it sounded like life was one big traffic jam. And I wrote this in remembering, like, before I left home for the military and when I was in high school, how they used to talk to me about life and stuff. So I thought to myself, maybe I better join up with Uncle Sam. I grew up to be strong-willed and kind, so that to you should be your peace of mind. Mom and Dad, the lessons in life I will carry through, and the only thing I can say is thank you. So I wrote that for my mom and dad. So there it is. Just some memories of Glenn and I, and my mom and dad, and some things I used to do, and maybe I need to get back into. So it's when I was writing poetry, when I did everything creatively, and then life kind of takes over, and you get to be worried about how much money you're making, and soon the thing of making money, and as much money as you can, kind of takes over everything else. So yeah, I guess just a little thought there. I know everybody has to survive, and money pays the bills, but don't let go of the little things like your creative side. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that. And as I come across more things as I clean out the house, I'll share more with you, but that's just to get to know us a little better in our early years. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And with that, remember to live life, be good to yourself, and be good to others. Until next time.